John, I'm curious, are there patterns, are there consistencies as to whom these angels help?
And that brings up a really touchy point there, because a lot of people feel bad if they've had a tragedy and there was no spiritual intervention to help them, and they might say to themselves, well, why me? Is God mad at me or something? And I've never seen any indication that that could possibly be true. But answering the question of why do angels go on vacation, as I call it, why was Stephen stoned in the book of Acts, but just a couple of chapters down, Peter was freed by an angel, you know. The philosophers have not been able to settle that one in thousands of years of wrestling with the question. They have come up with a few theories. Some people feel that the theory of karma might be an explanation, the idea that what we put out into the world comes back to us, reverberates back to us in some fashion or form. Some people have pointed out that, well, you know, our natural abilities vary from person to person. Some people take to a foreign language like a duck to water. Other people stumble tongue-tied trying to learn it for years. Some people, by this token, some people may be more psychically gifted and may be able to communicate. It may be that the angels are trying to get through in all instances, but in some cases they get through, in other cases they just can't be picked up.
People say, well, what makes the difference? Why do angels come sometimes and not others? Well, I don't know. But I do know that a lot of times we don't ask. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. It's so typical. I mean, we don't think that we can bring about a change from a spiritual point of view. And so we don't even try.
Jocelyn Vale and a friend found themselves stranded on a mountaintop in Uruguay, and they did ask for help.
We had been up there for, I guess, a couple of hours, and we looked down and saw that the bus that had brought us there, along with the rest of our group, was pulling off. And it was leaving. We didn't know if they had left anybody there to find us. We didn't know if they even knew that we were there. And it was at this point that we both really panicked. I was crying and she was crying. We were both really scared. And to try to keep ourselves from going too crazy or from freaking out, we started praying. And we started singing praise songs. So we tried just climbing down for a while, and that got to be too hard. And so what we would finally do is just place ourselves between two boulders, kind of on the ground, and kind of scoot forward a little bit, like a kid on a slide, and push ourselves forward some. And that worked. It was getting us towards the bottom. And, you know, so we were relieved. We finally had something, you know, some way that we were going to get to the bottom. After we had been doing that for about half an hour, just sliding down, this man walks up to us. He was a young man, and my friend and I, you know, thought, oh, good, finally, somebody can show us the way down. And so we're yelling, ayuda, ayuda, and pointing down. That was the one word we could think of in Spanish. It means help. And so we're yelling, ayuda, ayuda, and pointing down, and crying, and screaming and everything. And the man took my hand and he took her hand and started leading us to the left. And we just stopped and we said, no, that way. And again started saying, ayuda, ayuda, and pointing down. And he just kind of nodded and took our hands and kept leading us to the left. And he led us to the left for quite some way. And I didn't think anything of it at the time, because it wasn't very far after that he started finally leading us down. And we're thinking, well, finally he's figured out what we want here, and he's showing us the way to the bottom. And when we got to the bottom, they hadn't forgotten us. They had left a translator and my mother there. And he pointed up and showed her where we had been. And the place where we had been trying to slide down, we were less than 10 feet away from going over a cliff. And when I saw that, we both just kind of lost it at that point. We knew that we would not have been able to get down. And the four of us are walking together, and the man just stopped walking. And we took a few more steps and turned around, and the man was gone. There were no footprints. We could see our footprints in the sand, and couldn't see his, from the point where he had disappeared. There was nowhere for him to have gone. There were no trees around. There were no cars, no buildings, nothing, nowhere where he could have gone.
Do the angels Do they appear in human form?
Some people say that yes, they saw an angel that appeared to them as a human being, and they've determined that it was an angel because of the many uncanny circumstances that surrounded the incident of intervention. The term angel is so loosely used that for all practical purposes you really have to investigate to find out what a person has in mind when they say they have an angel.